nous organisions des grèves, des marches, des sittings qui étaient réprimés par les forces de l'ordre que nous n'avions pas peur d'affronter à coups de pierre.
We were colonized first by the Portuguese, the Dutch people, the English people, and then the French people. But as the French were the last, I would say, nation who colonized us, they kept our country in a very, I would say, dependent relationship in an economic way. They give us, I would say, independence in a juridic way, but in reality, in the ground, in the economic field, they kept all the resources and all the firm for their own. So when the Arabic Spring started, they didn't want to have a Black Spring in the rest of Africa. So the media was censored, and nobody talks about our revolution.
Salam alaikum Sénégal. Sénégal. Le 21 juin ba léegi ma ngi wax ñu wax léegi wax jeex na ak téléphone bu posé ak
I would say the most difficult part for me, it was finding the fund, because I am a director first. I write my film and I shoot them. And little by little, I started to became a producer. But it wasn't my first goal to produce the film. But as nobody wanted to take the risk to produce it, I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And I would say that was one of the hardest part. The second part, well, it's, you know, the problem with slavery, it's in the mind, because of course we don't live in slavery anymore, but there are some, I would say, legacy in the mind. And for lots of African and Black people, a Black African woman can't have skills in a technical way. So as my crew was very young, I have trained them and give them their first job in my shootings. It was a struggle day by day, because I also had one French guy and one Canadian guy, and my crew, my African crew, believe much more the French and the Canadian that I've also trained than me. It was a kind of tricky. This was, I would say,
were they male or female?
They were all male.
Right.
I prefer the East to the West. Its sights and its sounds. In the desert, every newcomer is an enemy till you know him to be a friend.
Gertrude Bell was an incredible trailblazer and an important woman, and she represents someone who did things that no other woman and many men had never done. She was a very powerful woman at a time when women had no power. So we really were quite surprised to discover that she was virtually forgotten, and felt that it was, you know, it was one of our missions to bring her story back.
She knows more about the Arabs and Arabia than almost any other living Englishman or woman.
She is, you know, represents a woman that fought against, you know, stood up to the restrictions of the day, went, you know, ahead no matter what, overcame great difficulties, and achieved, you know, achieved her goal without being constantly impaired by obstacles.
The truth is that I'm in a minority of one in the Mesopotamian political service, yet I'm so sure I'm right that I would go to the stake for it. Oil is the trouble, of course. Detestable stuff.
I had men when I went out of the room, changed the lights on my set because they, you know, were interested in controlling the set. But, you know, you get over that as you get more assertive.
I met Jewel in 2010, and I volunteered to direct a piece, a showcase piece. She was being honored for her community work. And that first day I met her, after doing just the initial research, I was shaking my head and saying, we have to do a documentary on you. There's so much, I don't even know how I'm going to put it in just a small showcase reel.
For 4 decades, Catch One was a legendary Los Angeles nightclub. It was an institution where celebrities, politicians, and everyday people of all colors, cultures, and backgrounds converged. The Catch came to be known as the unofficial Studio 54 of the West Coast.
The bangingest music.
You came here prepared to dance.
And I would go in there and dance, and everyone would leave me alone.
It's a fat club and it's a fat neighborhood.
You know, we are still dealing with issues of great, you know, prejudice and racism, you know. And I think when people see a film like this and know that these are the things that happened in the 70s and still see that it's happening now, and some people will be forced to recognize that flaws need to be changed.
Young men in the backyard of the Catch One, some were ill, didn't know where they were going to sleep. Jewel was the person who was trying to take care of all of them, giving them a place to come.
Cops coming into my place night after night with their rifles and things drawn. I said, when are you guys going to stop harassing me?
Their whole point was to instill fear and intimidation.
What are you going to do next, Jewel?
Inspiration, a lot of it comes from inside. And generally, I found that the folks that have had the hardest times are the ones that are easier to get involved and do more. So we have to try to reach everybody, and I think in our film we show that it doesn't matter how much money you have or whether you're a star or not, or whether you're homeless. There's a place in this whole spectrum of being able to give and serve that's available to any and everybody.